Well, Stevenson and Oscar Valdez, I'm sure that quite a few people will say that this was as expected. I'm going to dissent. I'm not saying that Oscar Valdez is or was an amazing boxer, but I am going to say that the version of Valdez I saw show up didn't show up. It seemed like something was off. It seemed like their corner wasn't prepared. It seemed like strategy was an issue. It seemed like Valdez was off physically. It seemed like he wasn't fully in the fight. There were multiple situations where Valdez seemed like he was somewhere else mentally or emotionally or something else. Like it didn't feel like he was working on all cylinders, as they say. And that's not dismissing Stevenson's performance. Stevenson put on a brilliant performance, arguably, but I was watching Valdez first. It seemed like Valdez was overly defensive, which didn't make sense. Now, Stevenson appeared to be bigger. Like he's growing into his body, I think, more than he was early on. So he's certainly getting more, meaty. But despite being the bigger guy, I felt like Valdez, it's almost like against a guy like Stevenson, you'd have to be the strong aggressor because you're going to have to convince judges that you're doing more than your opponent because the way Stevenson has always fought, he pretty much keeps you at range. And then his activity, the way when he does throw and he hits, he's going for accuracy, upstairs, downstairs. He doesn't focus heavily on counters, but he's very good at them. So to the judges, he always appears like he's basically the ring general. And it feels like Valdez corner had to know if you're going to do something against this dude, you're going to need to be the aggressor. And you're going to need to just go after him and not be afraid of him because we assume, as we're told, that Stevenson has no power. Stevenson has not been able to get any significant, one-punch knockouts or any of that kind of stuff. I think Stevenson has power. He just doesn't have the one-punch power. But it felt like he shouldn't have had power enough to do anything against Valdez. Yet Valdez was fighting a strategy that was, overly defensive. And I truly don't know why. So then I'm watching and thinking, okay, maybe he's just waiting for Stevenson to wear down. He wasn't going to wear down. Stevenson's been able to fight at the top levels, going the distance. He has experience. He has rounds in the books. If anything, Valdez would be the one that would struggle to go to late rounds. So I would have expected Valdez to step it up no later than round 6, and that didn't happen. So I don't know what it was. I know when Valdez got dropped, he got dropped, and it was an interesting sequence because basically Valdez had his back up against the ropes after a combo where Stevenson had turned him. So Valdez was coming forward with a high guard and he's trying to jab his way in, and then Stevenson throws some shots to get him to open up, turns him, like pivots him without even laying a hand on him, lays a shot and then another shot to the body, and then he goes down, Valdez. I was surprised. I was surprised to see what the heck Stevenson was doing, just turning him. It was the kind of performance you expected Tank to do against Isaac Cruz. This performance was superior to Tank and Isaac Cruz in the way it was presented. Now, I knew that because you had Kenny Bayless in there was going to be some dirty work that wasn't going to get called, and there was quite a bit of that. But I go back and I keep emphasizing, I don't know how many times I can repeat, it just felt like Valdez wasn't fully there. It felt like he wasn't fully in the fight, whether that was a prep, whatever, I don't know what it is. Something, he wasn't fully there. Even in that sequence where he got dropped, you could see it that he just looked like he was making stupid, silly mistakes. Some of these punches were not doing very much damage to Valdez. They were more frustrating him. They were more throwing off his emotions to where he was making increasingly more mistakes. And maybe that's what it is. Maybe it's just as simple as that. If that's the case, then to me, the dream fight to make is, Lomachenko versus Stevenson. And let's see who's really got that, because Stevenson put on a Lomachenko performance on this one. Doesn't mean that Stevenson didn't get touched. He got touched, but it's just like some of that didn't do anything to Stevenson at all. And Stevenson was in total control of the fight. And I'm not sure what the point of the fight really was, because as I watched it, I'm like, this is a guy coming with the WBC title. And you're like, how the heck did this happen where he's able to do this? I don't know. Stevenson pulled out a masterful performance. It seemed like Oscar Valdez was off. I know some people be like, well, no PEDs deep, deep. And if that's your opinion, I don't know. I'm saying I don't think we run it back. It's a waste of time. I'm saying, in looking where we go from here, I would like to see Stevenson against Lomachenko. And let's answer that question of, is it Stevenson that good, or was it just Valdez was that bad? I don't know that answer right now. As far as where Valdez goes from here, I don't know if he's going to be able to recover because, again, the way that he didn't engage against Shakur is bizarre. It didn't. This looked like a guy who basically had quit. Not quit as far as, on the stool, but like in his mind, it looked like he just quit. Like he just shut down and didn't want to do anything anymore. And if that's true, if that's the case, he shouldn't fight because it'll be dangerous for him to get hurt. So Stevenson pulls it out. It's pretty much a dominant decision. I think I gave Valdez maybe 2 rounds. Maybe. It was that bad. And of course Stevenson gets a knockdown on him. So that also counts. So I don't think it's a fight worth watching, frankly, because even if you like boxing skill, and Shakur showed a lot of it, the fact that Valdez didn't have try hardly at all, and it looked like a sparring thing, I don't know that it's worth the price of admission, in my opinion. And that's bad because given how important the fight was and the fact there was a unification and the fact these both were undefeated fighters, like that's the key thing. You're talking 2 undefeated fighters. 2 undefeated fighters, and one of them just completely dominates him. And I've said on record on the show, I do like it where it looks like a 50-50 fight. One guy goes in there and proves he's not the other guy's class. So it's not that I'm not happy with what Stevenson did, but I'm concerned with the fact that Valdez it looked like he didn't even try. That's what concerns me. It looks like he didn't try. He was throwing, but it didn't feel like he tried, like he needed to. This was not, Shakur said it right before the fight. This was not Mayweather-Corrales. It wasn't close to Mayweather-Corrales. Because at least with Corrales was trying. He at least was trying. He just was outclassed. That's different than Valdez, who wasn't even trying. If you want to make a parallel, this is like Pacquiao-Clottey. I was very disappointed in Oscar Valdez. I think a lot of his fans are going to be very disappointed. To the point I don't even want to see him on the screen again. I know that's bad. And maybe he rebuilds, or maybe we hear something after the fight that he was sick or something else, because it just seemed like he was off and he wasn't all the way there, and that's dangerous for any fighter.